Hi, Robert. Welcome back to Movie Junk. How are you?
Zaya, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's my honor to welcome back one of my favorite actors and Robert Funaro. No surprise to Soprano fans, we know him as Eugene Portecorvo from the April crew. Robert has an extensive career outside of The Sopranos. We've seen you in films such as American Gangster, the Martin Scorsese Academy-nominated film in 10 categories, The Irishman, and you've also successfully appeared in shows like Ray Donovan, Vinyl. I can't thank you enough for making your way back to our show today.
It's great to be here. Thank you very much for the invite,
And
Zaya.
we're just saying, I mean, it's been 3 years, right, since the last time we had you on our show, and that was right in the peak of the pandemic.
Yeah,
And also, too, we had a chance of meeting at the Sopranos Con. You were sitting right next to your old capo and John Fiore.
oh, Johnny, Johnny Fiore, great Massachusetts guy.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, I mean, me being a Sopranos fan, right, and going to Sopranos Con and getting to see, all my favorite actors from the show. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better experience. And yeah, I mean, that was awesome. And I hope that maybe they can bring back, something, in the future.
Well, we just had the Tony's backyard. We had about 75 people there, and we all congregated in the backyard. Myself, Vinnie Curatola, Federico, Janice, Aida, Dan Grimaldi, Jason Sabone, Jeff Marchetti. We were all in the backyard. We had a blast. And of course, that was open to the public. They were selling. It sold out in a matter of like, I think, hours. And people came, Zaya, from the West Coast, from Monterey. Um, you know, Shout out to Ellie from Monterey. A lot of people came from all over the country, and it was just amazing. So look out for another one of those. And I think we're doing something in the end of Jeff Marchetti. Great Jeff is figuring out something for the end of March. So just look out for it on Instagram, my Instagram, and or any of the most of the Sopranos that are on Instagram.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I did see the Tony's Backyard invite, and like you said, right, it's sold out super fast. So
Yeah.
definitely, definitely from the photos that I saw, I mean, it looked like a an amazing event. So definitely jealous that I wasn't able to attend, but I'm gonna stay tuned for March, and we'll also share it on our podcast as well too, in our page, so that fans can see.
Thank
I
you.
see that there was another reunion of the cast, right? We just hit the 25th anniversary of The Sopranos, right? And I mean, can you believe it's already been 25 years?
It's amazing. It just, I can't believe it. Time just, well, everything's lost in time since like, instead of before death, after death, it's before COVID, after COVID. You know what I mean? It could
Yeah.
be said that way also.
Yeah.
You have no concept of time when you're living inside and just so insulated, but it crept up on us the 25 years. And of course, the crisis definitely brought a couple of other generations to really love the show. The children, the young adults that couldn't see it back then, their parents allowed them to see it. And it just became so popular with the young people. They're just loving it. And I get stopped a lot more than I did prior to that with from younger people, a younger generation. And it's really a great blessing to have been a part of that in any way. Day players and also the regulars as myself. And
Yeah. No, and definitely too, right? I mean, there's been a resurgence, in The Sopranos in recent years, right, with the ability of streaming and being able to see it on HBO Max, and also too, with the Many Saints of Newark coming out, the prequel movie, so folks were then privy to returning back and watching all the episodes. I know for me, I kind of had an unorthodox, approach to watching The Sopranos, so I started at season 6. That was the very first season. I started at season 6 and then worked my way back because I didn't have HBO at my house, right? But my cousin had HBO, so I had to sneak over to their house and stay on Sunday nights and then just to watch. And the first episode that we know in season 6 was the very big episode that you had, right? So
My neck. You see, I'm doing my neck thing, my Brando neck thing.
so that's what I was introduced to, right? So
Well,
I
that's a great way to start. I mean, that was a bam. That was a great one. And of course, Tony being shot at the end of that episode, which was a surprise to me also, because
yeah.
there were many scripts floating around. I just thought it ended with myself. And then when I saw that he was shot, wow, it was cool, man.
And yeah, I mean it's crazy how time flies and also too like what was it like? I mean, I'm sure that the cast, has obviously reunited and seen each other, since the ending of the finale, but what was it like? David Chase was also there as well too at the 25th anniversary. What was it like
Right.
being together after all?
Mulberry Street, Danico's, big shout out to Nico's Ristorante on Mulberry Street. If anyone hasn't been there and they come to New York, that's the place to go to. I mean, I'm not just saying it, it really is great food there. It was terrific to see everyone, to mingle with everyone, to see the producers, Eileen Landris, David Chase, Phil Abram, Matt Weiner from Mad Men. Everyone was it was just a great pleasure to be around everyone, Vincent and Pastor and Kathy Narducci, the whole cast. It was just it truly was terrific and to mingle with everyone, have a drink and talk about old things and Ray Abruzzo. And I know I'm not naming all the names, but they were basically all there. Few no-shows, Steve Sharippa, of course, few no-shows, but then some people are working on Broadway and they're doing different things. So, but the majority of the cast was there, Zaya.
Was it bittersweet not having the boss there, James Gandolfini? Was it bittersweet?
His son Michael was there. He represented,
Yeah,
and that's great to see Michael because he does have that resemblance of James. You could see it passed on.
yeah.
His voice, I think, is more on his mother's side. His voice, not as, but he's still becoming. He's still becoming. But yes, it was. But it's always sad. And of course, we honored James in the speeches. Steve Buscemi made a speech. David Chase made a speech. Lorraine Bracco made a speech. Dan Grimaldi, who I didn't mention before, Patty Parisi made a speech. And that was, we lifted a glass to James. He just a testament to his genius that people are still riveted when they begin to watch it and they get into it and they see what it was and how it kind of influenced many, many other shows. Zaya, after it, be more specific, after.
Yeah. And also too, from remembering from our first interview that we had, from my understanding, James actually went to bat for you, right? To keep you on the show. And if I remember correctly, initially you were auditioning for a different role. It was the Ralphie role, right? And then it ended up becoming the Eugene role, but it was because of that chemistry that you guys had during that initial audition, right? That got you on the show.
Well, James, I was working at Caroline's and James found out through my friend Gordon at a party. He went up to him and he said, I might have said this in the last podcast, but why not? We'll repeat it again. If I was you, I'd get your friend Bobby Funaro a job on your show because it was like season 3. At the end of season 3, it was starting season 3. So James said, well, what's Bobby doing? Because, we did Streetcar Named Desire in Europe about 7, 8 years prior to that. We toured Scandinavia. And we kept in touch, but not, he went to LA. I stayed in New York, managed Caroline's, lived my life a little bit, acting here and there, but not really as he was doing, True Romance and stuff like that. Anyway, so he found out through Gordon. And then he took his driver, Joe Fay, around because he couldn't remember what comedy club. And he wound up in Caroline's. And I walked into work that day and he was at the bar. And I said, what are you doing? We picked up where we left off. And he said, to cut to the chase, I have an audition. If you'd like it, have you been acting? Of course, I lied. I said yes. And I hadn't been acting a lot. And that's my first professional job. I got my apprenticeship in television and film because it was shot like film on The Sopranos. So he said, I can offer you this audition for this character, Ralph Cifaretto. You see Georgianne walking. I studied it. I landed the role, Zaya. I landed the role, but the chemistry between us when we were filming uh, was a bit off. We're two big guys. There wasn't that, that differential with two nice guys. I was told with two nice guys, and I wasn't that nemesis to him. So David tried it again, but it just wasn't working. But he wanted to keep me on the show, and he said, "We'll create a character." Now I think James had a little bit of something to do with that, keep Bobby on the show, and so I didn't just wasn't a one-hit wonder and everything. And they created Eugene, and I asked David, "What is Eugene?" He said, "Look, don't worry about it." Actually, Terry Winter, who was a great writer who won an Emmy Award for Members Only, the episode the one that you watched for Best Dramatic Episode. He said, "Don't worry, Bobby. We'll make it up as we go along, as I get to know you," which is what a lot of writers in television do, and film too, but more in television because you get to know the people. So I became a crew member, and then one thing led to another, and here I am talking to you. So that's how it really transpired. And if you look at the first episodes of season 3, you'll see me in the front credits, Robert Funaro in the front credits. So that's because contractually I had to be in the front credits, but it didn't matter to me. I was on the greatest show on TV ever. So I was happy,
Yeah, and you got made, very early on as well.
Yeah,
And
with Michael.
right, yeah, I mean, and also too, with if you look at the villains that were you call them villains, right? That were in the Sopranos crew that Tony ended up going up against, right? With Richie and Ralphie, and he even ended up, killing his cousin. Also, everyone also was a lot smaller than Tony, right? So
Yeah, I mean, Joe Pantaleone, I believe, was an initial candidate for the role of Ralph, but I think negotiable. There was something in negotiations that fell through. But when I was, when they made the change, of course, they made another phone call, and Joe was perfect for the role. He was the great, Joe has got that how should I say, bull breaker kind of, he can really play, and he plays many other roles besides that. But Joe can really get under your skin. So
yeah,
me a little bit less. I got to try a little harder,
yeah.
So, but yes, that was true. David Preval, who was, and of course, the others who played, opposed James.
Yeah. And again, right, and they made it up their strength and stature and their personality, right? And I think if you had been cast, I think the character would have been different. The writers are so good at knowing and writing to the characters or the actor's strengths, right? And I think I'm actually
Well,
excited at what the
I
difference.
was cast, but the thing is, I think James thought that because Stanley, who I played Stanley, I was, and he's a big antagonist when it comes to Blanche Dubois and Streetcar. James remembered that antagonism I had, and that's what stayed in, besides me as a friend, but that stayed in his memory. And that was a great production that we did over there. But he had thought that, well, that might work because of Bobby's, streetcar thing, and he can make the transition. But it just the chemistry wasn't there at the time. So it's one of those showbiz things. But it was
Yeah.
one in I forgot it was you two listening. You pull from defeat, you pull hope from defeat, victory from defeat, and that was my story. It was definitely sad to lose that, but at the same time, it was victory in the end. You know.
Definitely. And also too, I mean, with what because it was mentioned maybe very briefly after your character, I think maybe at the funeral scene, but what was sad was that your father, the character, he'd also committed suicide as well too, right? And we had learned that your aunt that had raised you, right, which was the aunt that gave you the inheritance, that
With the
was
bullet.
that had committed suicide. So it was very sad, especially because we were seeing sort of a resurgence for Eugene, right? He was getting this inheritance. He wanted to go to Miami. There's a lot of momentum for him, right? And maybe even him becoming, capo maybe eventually of the crew, right? Which I was hoping to see, but it was just sad, but just great, great writing, right? Just to make it
Yeah,
sort of come full circle.
I I think that I don't think it, well, to me, I really never did that research that my family, my dad, and I mean, I know they said that about me, but to me, and I know Michael says some derogatory stuff about the mutt, something like that, as when he refers to Eugene, but I had in my mind that I did this for my family to liberate them. I made a sacrifice because I knew there was no way out. And I thought that's in my own personal character elements. And I know the walls were closing in on me. And before the port, the memorabilia book and seeing the pictures in Florida and the great fun we had, the only way to get them to Florida, the only way to have them escape the madness of that wise guy life was to sacrifice myself and to hang myself, so to say, and just give my life. And the thing was, Zaya, that I thought, well, yeah, David called and he said, I got good news and bad news. He would call everyone who was leaving the show. And what do you want to hear first? I was glad to hear the good news because I was hearing prior that you're getting a son, you're getting a wife, what's going on? And they building a character. I said, I don't know. I have no power over that. So he said, good news. I said, well, give me the good news. Bobby, you got a great episode. We wrote it, it's going to be a fantastic character arc for your character in this episode. So what's the bad news? The bad news is that you're dead. Oh, thanks, David. And I moved on. But the thing is that when I read the script, I thought, and I've said this in interviews before, Marlon Brando, and I'm not comparing myself with him. He said that, when he did the scene in Waterfront, I could have been somebody. I could have been a contender instead of a bum, which is what I am. He said that particular speech, Bud Schoberg encapsulated many, many Americans who would have had a chance, yet they were corrupted. They were stained, so to say, in their early life. So then I thought, well, Eugene that's not the same, but Brando said it's memorable. Anyone could have really did that role and stood out because the writing was so poignant. So I thought, well, people could relate to a guy like Eugene who wants to get out, but's not allowed to get out of his life, get out from underneath his life, who was basically miserable and wants to just start a new life. And it can't happen for him because the people who have him under their wing or under the barrel, so to say, as Jimmy would say, they won't allow him to get out from. So people can relate to that. So I said, you know what, this is great because people will remember Eugene not for the Snapple bottle, but they'll remember him as the guy who wanted to retire. And that's what happened. I'm very happy and very proud and blessed to have been given that episode.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it was, in my opinion, one of the best episodes in the entire series. And also
Thank
too,
you.
the way that I interpreted it, even though when he was telling the FBI agent, I can return to testify, I never actually believed that he would have. I felt like he knew that that would be too risky for his family. And again, he did whatever he needed to do for Tony, right? The hit at the restaurant. So I think that was just a way to he knew once he got to Florida that everything would be right. He just needed to get to Florida, right?
Oh,
Um,
Teddy Spiridakis through Michael. But the main thing is what was initiated in the beginning that we had done CYO, me and Tony Soprano, we go back a long way. CYO basketball, which I think was kind of referred to Stanley, in Streetcar. Me and James knew each other a long time, and the writers took advantage of that. Terry put that in. It was a metaphor for Streetcar, but CYO basketball. And the thing about the Ray Curto was an informer. People and a lot of people come up to me, hey, they online say you were a rat. Big thing. Eugene was a rat, and I tell him, if I was a rat, did anything happen to Tony after I passed away, after I killed myself? Did anything happen to him? Does anything detrimental happen that Eugene put him in front of the RICO commission or anything? No. So I say to them, no, it can't be. I mean, if I turned evidence and I did, like, let's say hypothetically, like Sammy the Bull, I'm not bad mouthing anybody. I don't want to get into any trouble, but it's a different thing, So that's my take on it.
yeah, and they showed actual scenes with Eugene, giving the wiretaps. We never got that deep. I'm sorry, not Eugene. apologize, I'm forgetting the name of the
Ray,
other informant, Ray.
Ray
They
Preacher, yeah.
showed Ray, with the wiretaps. So that there was actual, evidence that could be damning for Tony. We never got that far with Eugene, right? So that's why I
The
didn't
thing
really
was the border for Florida, he would give up, for Florida. But
exactly.
they said that was,
Exactly.
when they said it was a no-go, the
Yeah.
Florida thing's a no-go, and that was out the window, you know what I mean? I
Hmm.
think I would have given more information if I would, yes, I would have probably done that,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know?
And definitely too. I mean, I don't know if you've paid attention to some of the theories that have arisen over the years. Obviously, with your character wearing the members only jacket, symbolizing death, but also with the finale of The Sopranos, right, with the guy coming in with the members only jacket. There's a theory because we did see your wife, right? She said, just kill him, put a bullet in his head, right? There's a theory that your wife is the one that sent the guy into the restaurant and eventually, shot and killed Tony, and then we go to black. Do you think there's any truth into that theory that's kind of on the internet?
I think it's, um, I mean, I can't, I don't know. I mean, I think Peter Bogdanovich, to answer your question, Bogdanovich put it the same way. And mean that last scene was basically a cross section of America with the members only jacket, the Boy Scouts, the rappers. I mean, all the African American cats that walked in, the onion rings. It was, but I think to me, it's a theory. I mean, if you make up that theory, that's one person's take on it. It could be true. If it could be true, did Suzanne Dodonna, I mean, my wife, did she do it? It's you make it up basically, and that's what Bogdanovich was saying. Everyone can really basically draw what they want to draw from it. It's a good theory. I seen it online on Instagram, and it could be okay. But I lean more towards um, that the Tony Sopranos of the world will always be around. And so will the Boy Scouts, and so will the brothers and the African American cats, and the dissension and the politics. It's not going anywhere in our country, as you can see nowadays. Everything that's happening, it's just, it kind of recycles itself, And I believe more in what Bogdanovich said, that it's a perpetuity of wise guys, and you kind of make up the ending yourself.
Mhm.
I mean, that's my feeling.
And that's the thing, right? Is that we're still talking about that finale, so
Yeah.
16 years later. So that's just accredited to the writing and to prove that that was the right decision to go that route, right? So
Yeah, David Chase is a brilliant writer, and he didn't want to see, and I think it made more sense not to see the St. Valentine's Day massacre of Tony Soprano. Uh, More realistic would be that he's taken in, and we don't know, like what happened with John Gotti and stuff like that, that someone informed on him. That's more real to life. But I kind of like that he left it open ended, that you kind of make up your own ending. So that's a testament to his genius, David Chase's genius. Yes.
the fan in me sort of dreams that if there ever is an opportunity to resurrect and make a Sopranos post like sequel where Silvio wakes up from a coma maybe 15 years later and we just pick up today in modern time with what we have left, right? That way you can sort of skip potentially if there was a potential Tony Soprano killing, or if whoever, if he goes to jail, etc. But just, yeah, I mean, part of me still wants to see some more Sopranos. But did you,
A lot of people.
when we did the interview, or actually before that question, getting everybody back, together, was there any talks of a Sopranos sequel or prequel, or anything that you're able to share?
No, no, no talk of anything. I mean, you got the Many Saints of Newark,
Yeah.
and you got David's autobiography, movie biography, which was Not Fade Away. That's how we got into producing, and because of the music and stuff like that. Um, so, but there hasn't really been a talk, from what I understand, in our circles. There is talk of the Mandalorian happening with John Favreau. I heard about that, and I'm just kidding around. What you're just saying. Um,
Definitely.
uh, And any wise guys in that? Because that'd be, I love that show. I can't wait for that to come out.
Yeah, I'm super
I-
excited for that.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, no, there really isn't. I mean, if you look at Many Saints in Newark, there were many, many themes running through it of how Tony and Michael was great in it, Michael Gandolfini and all the players. But the thing is that there are many, many themes. And if you think about, we can talk about many, many themes when you're doing television. I'm not saying, criticizing the film, but it's very difficult in a film. I mean, you watch Rocky, his trajectory, you know what I mean? And you see the progress he makes, he wants to go in a distance. If you take a film, most films, Taxi Driver, they have this and with many themes as they went there, well, how did Michael come and James come in? I mean, and Tony become Tony and everything like that. So it's not so easy to tell a story. And I thought that I wanted to see more of the Many Saints of Newark. What's the next episode going to happen? But like I said, it was a film. So
Yeah, I know after the movie came out, there was talks of, and again, this is just what I see on the internet, right? Of them doing a series. But from my understanding, I think David wanted to do another movie. I don't think he was privy to doing a series, unless anything's changed since then. But I would definitely like to see a continuation, especially with Michael looking so much, like his dad. And there's just so many stories that we heard in The Sopranos when they were talking about, like the Feaches and just seeing, young Tony and Uncle, or I'm sorry, Tony's dad and Uncle June together too. Like I would love to just see sort of what they were going through, right, and all the stories, and also maybe seeing your character, right, when you guys were playing basketball. So the stories are endless what they can do, but I think to do it justice and to tell all these stories, we need to have a prequel series to do it the right way.
I agree with you. It's basically David. I think Chase has this mind for things that continue, and he just gets to the heart of the matter. So I definitely agree that it should be that. I thought Tony Soprano's dad, Bernthal. Um, I thought I wanted to see more of him. He's such a great actor,
Too.
and I thought it was a little shortchanged with that. I personally think that it should have been more on him than Michael's dad, right? Than Michael. But what do I know? I mean, because I thought he was just so great, but to focus more on him and how Tony became Tony through his dad and stuff, a little bit more. That was my feeling on it, but what do I know?
Did you think this was sort of me watching the film? Did you think that Christopher's mom was the Gumar? Remember the Gumar that Chris's dad took over? Remember, because initially his mom, they were saying she couldn't get pregnant, and then did you have a hint that, or maybe they were indicating that she was the real mom, or am I thinking too much into it?
I think you're thinking too much into it, but I have to also tell you this, that my memory's not great. I haven't seen the film in a long time, so
Awesome,
uh,
awesome.
when it comes to that, what I mean. So I kind of forgot a lot of the film, except for the things that remained in my mind that.
Definitely, definitely. And I do want to jump into some of your upcoming projects, but before I do that, I want to talk about Omerta Cigars, right? And so it looks like now there's a sort of a reunion, right, with Patsy, and also with Jackie Aprile Jr. as well too, right? So it looks like you guys have kind of made up, since that card game when you started, trying to shoot at you, right? But how
Yes, yes, yes.
did this
Jason
partnership went?
Simone, Jason and Dan Grimaldi, Patsy Parisi. We joined up together with www.shopomerta.com, get Omerta on Instagram. And we got some great coffee, and we just signed a contract, and it just email blast has gone out to all the clients of 1-800-Flowers. So we're on 1-800-Flowers, our coffee, not cigars. Tobacco's another thing, but the coffee is. And I tell you, we're promoting this product. We're part owners of the company. But the thing is, it's one thing to promote and not have a good product. In this case, the coffee really is terrific. And all the labels woke up this morning, Eugene's early retirement. A lot of our labels we made up, that we came up with the ideas from from the show. for the labels on them, and they're all very Danny's special brew. So they're all very good, and the flavored coffees have a great bottom. I tell you, I'm just promoting. I'm just saying, once you've tried the coffee, you won't want to go back. You won't, because we don't have Keurigs, but the disposable ones I use. You won't really wouldn't want to go back to that, Tim Hortons, Dunkin' Donuts, and because the coffee really is excellent, most excellent coffee.
And how did you guys come about to making coffee? Was it more of your personal preference as far as what you like, and then sort of designed it, or how about did you guys come to designing this coffee flavor?
We really came in. There was a coffee company, and one of the rich Garsky approached me online off Instagram and said, "Hey, would you be willing? Do you want to promote our coffee? We want to try to do a soprano thing." So I said, "Well, yeah, sure. I'll give it to my business manager, Andrew Frank Group, who's on Instagram." And Andrew spoke to them, and then I informed Andrew, "Well, why just only me? I've done these things only me, and nothing's ever happened. Why not try to get a couple of guys that I love to work with, Jason Sabone and also Danny Grimaldi?" And he said, "Yeah, it's a good idea. So let me call him up." And we all got together, and the coffee was already existed. We just had to, label it and stuff, the flavors, and we had all these flavors, and the special espresso, which is used for the coffee maker. They were all done, and we just had to make up the names for the thing. And they gave it to us, and we tried every single one of the coffees, like 15 different coffees, and we just loved it. And then we just came up with names for it, and we just threw it around. Early retirement, yeah.
What,
So,
what do you recommend? You light up the cigar and then grab the coffee, or what's the order to do? Coffee first and then the cigar?
I really like the cigars. That's another thing. They're really great cigars. Really wrap really well, and the tobacco is I'm proud of those also. I'm not really a gigantic cigar smoker. I do have one once in a while, but those are very good. We have a dark wrap and a lighter wrap, and they're high quality cigars. But the coffee, the ones I like, of course, for flavored, I like mine Early Retirement because it's got that bottom. All our flavored coffees, just not the flavor. It's just the bottom still has a coffee taste to it. And I wake up in the morning and I say, "Well, I don't want to have that Keurig that easy when I want to make my own." Woke up this morning, is really a straight coffee. It's very good. Danny's Special Blend is a very good. Those three are very good.
Definitely. I'm going to order some as soon as
Yeah,
we wrap the show, and then also I'm going to put some links on as well.
thank
Dan
you.
Grimaldi, I couldn't say he's such a nice guy. We've had him on the show, and definitely anything that I've ever asked, he's always been there for us. Jason Serbone's amazing too. Yet to have him on the podcast, but I met him at the Sopranos con. We have a nice picture together. I mean, amazing trio, right? And amazing seeing you guys, successful. And again, I can't wait to try the coffee. And I'm not a cigar smoker, but my best friends all love smoking cigars, right? So I'll usually have a cocktail with them, and they'll have the cigars. So I'll grab a couple, and that'll be a really cool gift to get them because they're all Sopranos fans as well too.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, they're quality. They really are very good.
I want to jump into your upcoming projects as well too, and one that really caught my eye. I actually saw the trailer about a month ago, which is the Critical Acclaim movie that you did, and this is not out yet, right? I believe it's still, and the trailer came out. It's still scheduled to come out. Is it a few months from now, or when are we getting
They
it?
said the director, John, um, uh, John said that it should be coming out this month. So, I mean, it should be coming out. The only thing is, I think it's going to do some film festivals because it's an independent film, and he wants it to be seen in a film festival. So he just can't release it live streaming or on a certain platform, maybe Prime or whatever platform he's thinking, live stream platform he's thinking, because he doesn't want to disqualify it from some of the film festivals. So he's going to start doing that circuit this month. I'll let you know while you're in LA if there's a LA premiere or if they're at one of the film theaters, or I know he's talked about it renting a movie cinema in New York City, downtown, maybe Soho. or the Waverly, which they renting out and having a premiere there. So it's definitely coming out. I mean, it's about a filmmaker who gets a bad review and he kind of loses it. What else is new? And he kind of just lets go. He just surrenders everything he stands for because of a specific review about his film. That really was about anti-abortion and the life, pro-life, and he goes on this journey. I would say to Hades and back into life, and finds God, saves him from that journey, finds life worth living. And I won't give up the ending, but it has a nice ending to it, and that's the good thing about it. It's definitely a faith-based film, but it also has the other things like the underworld, the underbelly. We shot it in Utica, New York, which is an interesting place. In the summer, I wouldn't want to be there in the winter. I think it'd be a little bit gloomy, but we did it in the summer of 2022. And I just came off of COVID. This is a side note. A week prior, and I didn't get like a physical big problems, although he got a little bronchitis, but mentally the isolation was a little bit much. So I think a little bit of that isolation bled into the film. So I'm hoping that, it came through. This character of Johnny comes through. And John Mustachio is the director.
Yeah, and there's also some Sopranos alum that are in there as well too, right? And Artie Pasquale, Paul Borghese, who is also in the trailer. We actually interviewed Paul Borghese as well on the show. I didn't see him in the trailer, but I believe Will DeMeo is also in this.
William DeMeo is also.
Gravesend series, also Sopranos too, right? He's been in a ton of
Yes.
projects, so really, really good cast. So I got excited.
Ernie Mingione. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I think Ernie did a little small spot on Sopranos.
Definitely. Yeah. So if there is an LA premiere, I'll definitely be there. We'll stay tuned to the New York premiere as well too. I do make my way. I'd say every few months I come to New York. So
Cool. Come over to the house. We'll have some macaroni, some pasta.
you kill me with your dishes, man. You make some awesome stuff, and my mouth's usually water when I see it. So definitely, if I don't make it to the premiere, I'm going to take you up on that as well. And definitely, yeah, just
We're doing we're going to do a cooking show at Chico and Sons in Northfield, New Jersey, which is a big Sopranos haunt in terms of their sandwiches. They have the Eugene, they have the Patsy Parisi. So we're going to premiere a cooking show because I have a homemade with Robert Funaro, homemade on Instagram, and we're really going to promote that channel this coming spring. And promote it and do recipes and stuff like that. So I'm excited about that too. And we're going to be doing it at Chico and Son. So that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen all the amazing sandwiches that they pump out, and again, too, like that's on my list. Next time I come out to the East Coast, I want to stop by and grab all these famous Sopranos themed sandwiches, right? And excited that you're kicking off a food channel as well, too, right? A food podcast, right? Which I think is overdue for you because during the pandemic, you were posting all these cool dishes, right? So, like, definitely now that we can see it more
Yes.
consistent on the podcast and doing it at Chico and Sons, I think will be really cool.
Yes.
Awesome. And just want to be respectful of your time. Again, I can't thank you enough for
Thank you,
making
Zaya.
me back to our podcast. Again, excited to see the Critical Acclaim film as well too. We'll stay tuned for the release date and also getting a chance to talk back the 25th anniversary of The Sopranos. My favorite show. I don't think anything will ever top it, and I'm excited to kind of hear your journey through it all. I can't thank you enough for making your way back to our show. Appreciate it.
Zaya, thank you. Zaya Simon, thank you. And MovieJunk, stay tuned. There's more to come, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, Zay. You take care, brother.
You too. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Yeah, take care.